Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
जय
जय
समय में जब ब्रह्मन से
Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Please repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
थोड़ी सी चार्ज देते तो बड़ी
Okay, we would like to welcome, very happy to see, we have Anjali, then we have Lal Milwani, we have Devina, Disha Jadwani, Disha Milwani, Divya, we have Hema, Karuna, Lal Milwani, then we have Bhumika, we have Venkatchari, we have Neelam, Neha Chatlani, then my parents are there, we have Rito Lalwani, Venkatesh, and I don't know who is Zoom user here. Okay, thank you very much for joining us for our weekly sessions. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so we are on chapter number 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. On this chapter, it's titled Contents of the Gita Summarized. We will quickly have a summary of what we have seen so that we don't get lost, because we've been discussing many things and it's a long chapter. So this chapter begins with Sanjay describing that Arjuna's eyes are full of tears, Ashru Purna Kulekshana. And then Krishna speaks in verse 2. Krishna is saying, so here we discussed the meaning of Bhagavan, because the verse begins with Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, and we discussed the definition of Bhagavan. Who who you can consider, who you can accept as God. So Krishna says, first of all, Krishna is telling Arjuna that how come these impurities have come upon you? These are not befitting a man. It is anarya. It's not befitting a man who knows the value of life. It will not lead to higher planets. He says, aswargyam. It will lead to infamy, or it will make you infamous. So he uses the word akirti. And then Krishna uses very strong words. He uses two very strong words here in verse 3. He calls him impotent, Clybium, and he says that you are petty-minded. So he uses the word here, Shudram. So by using these two very strong words, he is coming down heavily on Arjuna, actually. And then Arjuna retaliates by saying that, oh, you are actually Arisudana, you are the killer of enemies, you are the killer of Madhusudana. You are only killing the enemies, but how can I counteract with arrows such great personalities like Bhishma and Drona? So Arjuna is saying that I am not important, I am not petty. It's not that I'm weak, but my reason is that I cannot attack such great personalities. So then Arjuna says that it is better to live in this world by begging because he does not want a kingdom that will be tainted with blood. So we can see how Arjuna is soft-hearted, and it's not that he is greedy for the kingdom. And then Arjuna comes up with his last argument, or the fifth argument, as to why he does not want to fight the war, which is indecision. So he's saying that I do not know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. So for Arjuna, it's a lose-lose situation, because what are his two options? Either he is going to fight or he's not going to fight. Now, if he fights the war, either he will win or he will lose. If he wins the war, the kingdom will be tainted by blood. If he loses the war, it means death. And on the other side, if he does not fight, then it will make him infamous. It will not, he cannot go to Swarga, as Krishna said. And it means that he has to live by begging, because if a Kshatriya does not have a kingdom, what is he going to rule? So if he does not fight, then it means that he has to live the rest of his life by begging. So Arjuna says that it's a lose-lose situation for him. And then in verse 7, Arjuna finally surrenders to Krishna. We discussed this is the turning point of the Bhagavad Gita. And then one would imagine that, okay, now Arjuna has surrendered, so Krishna is going to start speaking or giving him transcendental knowledge from verse 8. But no, Krishna still does not speak. Krishna starts to give transcendental knowledge only in verse 11. So after 7, only in 11, Krishna begins to speak. In 8, again, Arjuna shows his determination, why he wants to receive this knowledge. So he is determined. He continues to speak. And then Sanjay is conveying to Dhritarashtra that how Arjuna says, Govinda, I shall not fight. And then in 10, Sanjay describes that Krishna is smiling. So we discussed how in a normal situation, if somebody is in a distress, is in such a distressed condition, then one would usually not smile. But here Krishna is smiling because he is glad that Arjuna has done the right thing. So intelligence is to know what to do when you don't know what to do, which is what we discussed in the previous class. So Arjuna didn't know what to do. So for him, it's a lose-lose situation on both the sides. But he did know what to do, which was he surrendered to a superior authority. So for us also, this lesson is should be loud and clear that intelligence is to know what to do when you don't know what to do. Because many a times in our life, we come across situations where we cannot understand what should we do. At that time, it is very important that we consult a senior authority who can give us advice based on Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So then from verse 11, the Bhagavad Gita knowledge begins. And Krishna begins this knowledge by first of all calling the bluff of Arjuna, because he is telling Arjuna that you're speaking learned words. But what is the reality? The reality is that you are mourning for that which is not worthy of grief. The reality is that you are being overwhelmed by emotions, and these emotions are based on the wrong platform. They are based on the bodily platform. Compassion, emotion should not be on the bodily platform. So that's why he's saying those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. So Krishna begins this knowledge by actually calling out on Arjuna's faulty reasoning. And then in verse 12, Krishna talks about the eternality of the soul. The soul never dies. So he says, there was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings. So all of us are eternal. We always exist, irrespective of whether we are in the material world or we are in the spiritual world. We never lose our individuality. So Krishna goes right away to the root of the problem. What is the root of the problem is that Arjuna is on the bodily conception. So the first lesson of spiritual life is you are not the body, you are spirit soul. That's the first lesson of spiritual life. And immediately Krishna doesn't, without wasting any time, he just goes to the root of the problem when he's addressing Arjuna. And we discussed how from verse 11 onwards up to verse 30, Krishna is counteracting the compassion argument of Arjuna. Arjuna had 5 reasons why he does not want to fight. Does anybody remember what are the 5 reasons Arjuna gives for not fighting the war? One was compassion, which we discussed. We also discussed the 5th reason, which was in this chapter, which was indecision. 3 more. Who can fill in the blanks? Anybody here who does not have a Kali Yuga memory?
The second one was enjoyment.
Enjoyment. Yes, very nice.
And the third was fear of incurring sinful reaction
Yes, correct.
and destruction of family traditions.
Excellent. Very nice. So yes, these were the 5 reasons. So here Krishna is counteracting Arjuna's compassion argument. So compassion should be for the soul, not for the body. So he's beginning by saying that you are not the body, you are spirit soul. Okay, very nice. Do we have any questions before we proceed to today's class? Okay, let's.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Actually, you it is explained that if we don't know nothing, then we should surrender ourselves to God. So, in today's life, how to surrender? Like, what to do if we don't know what to do.
So we surrender to God by surrendering to a bona fide spiritual master. And if you don't have a bona fide spiritual master yet, you start looking out for one, and you can always ask or seek guidance from a senior authority. Somebody. So there are 3 lines of authority: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. The spiritual master, or a saintly person who is well versed in the Shastra and who will not misguide you, will not cheat you. Because there are many people who call themselves saints. They just because somebody is dressed up in a particular way does not make him a saintly person. Okay, so you have to look out for that bona fide person who will only repeat the words of Guru Parampara, or who will only repeat the words of Shastra. So you have to you can surrender to Krishna by surrendering to his bona fide representative, who is a spiritual master. And if you don't have a spiritual master yet, then you can consult someone who will repeat the words of Shastra, who is a saintly person and who is authorized, bona fide, who's not going to cheat you or misguide you. And the best way to surrender to Krishna is by chanting the holy name. There is a lot of potency, there is a lot of power in chanting the holy name. So if you have the habit of chanting at least minimum 1 round to begin with, of course, the magical number is 16. But to start off, if you can every day chant 1 round, you will quickly realize how Krishna begins to reciprocate. And this I can say from personal experience. And many people who have chanted, they also tell me that how by chanting, Krishna shows them more and more that how he's personally taking care of them. So there are many times when you probably have a question in your mind, and somehow or the other that question will be answered without you even seeking it. So chanting, there is a lot of potency in chanting the holy name. So I would recommend that if you're not chanting yet, please start chanting at least 1 round every day. I can guarantee that your life will transform only for the better.
Yeah, thank
There
you.
are
And
rules and
another,
regulations.
another question is, you said, like, if what is Bhagwan, the qualities of Bhagwan. So we says like we have 300, so some, like, 47 Devi Devta, crore Devi Devta. So that means they all were following all these six principles. That's why they became Bhagwan, or what?
No, see, you use the right word. You said Devi Devata. So there's a difference between Devatas, Devi Devatas, and Bhagavan. Because
Mhm.
one country can have one president and can have many ministers. So there can be one supreme personality of Godhead, and there are other devatas like Indra, Surya, Chandra, and all these devatas. They are all working under the jurisdiction of Krishna. And actually, Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita later. It's not that I am biased about Krishna and I'm just saying, but Krishna himself says this later in the Bhagavad Gita. He clarifies his position, and he clarifies the position of the devatas. And he also says that when a devata or a Devi Devta gives us a benediction, like, see, because they are all exalted personalities, it's not a joke to become a devata, okay? So yes, of course, they are exalted personalities and they give us boons. But Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that these boons are actually given by me, sanctioned by me, and it is coming through the devatas because we are placing our faith in a particular devata. That's why. So Krishna reveals a lot about the demigods, devatas, what is his position, what is the position of the others later in the Bhagavad Gita. So if you stay with us till chapter 18, all these things will be clarified during the course.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Any other questions?
Sanam, I have a question.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
What about the time, place, about chanting? There are many people who say that you people are chanting anywhere and everywhere, which is not correct.
Okay, so according to the Shastras, yes, when you chant a certain mantra, then there is a certain time, a certain place, a certain position, a posture that you have to maintain. But because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was Krishna himself, who appeared 500 years ago in Sridham Mayapur, he is the most munificent or the most charitable incarnation. He is Krishna himself, but he's come in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So he is more merciful than even Krishna. And for the benefit of the people of Kali Yuga, that is for our benefit, because he knows that Kali Yuga is the most rotten, most fallen age. And we, in the Kali Yuga, only 25, religiosity is followed only 25%. 75% is only adharma or irreligiosity that's prevalent. So he said, he relaxed all the rules and regulations. So there are no rules and regulations to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. You can chant anywhere, anytime, any place, under any circumstances. Now, of course, there are certain times where it is more favorable to chant. For example, if you chant in the morning, then it's easier to chant your rounds and it's easier to concentrate on your chanting, because it's important that we chant with concentration. If you chant in the night, see, from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., the mode of goodness or sattva guna is prevalent in the atmosphere. So the modes have an effect on us also. So if you chant after sunset, it's not that it is wrong. It is not going to give you any negative reaction. There's nothing to lose. You only stand to gain. But it's a little bit more harder to chant in the evening. So the recommended is early morning. Okay. But if you can't do that, if you can't do the best thing, then you do the next best thing. If you can't do the next best thing, then you do the next best thing. But the point is you chant, because something is always better than nothing. So anyway, coming back to this, from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m., the mode of goodness is prevalent in the atmosphere. From 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., the mode of passion or rajoguna is prevalent in the atmosphere. And then from 6 p.m. to again 2 a.m., the mode of ignorance or tamoguna is prevalent in the atmosphere. So these modes have an effect on us, and therefore as the day progresses, the chanting becomes a little more difficult, and it becomes a little more difficult to concentrate. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you should not do it. Preferably in the morning. If you can't do that, then you do the next best thing. But any which way, just chant. That is very important. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that there are no rules and regulations for chanting the holy name. So that is his special mercy for us Kali Yuga souls. Does that answer your question?
No, even if suppose if I am in a birthday party and there are people talking around you and you are used to the mantra because you're chanting the whole day, sometimes even while sleeping you're chanting, right? So we are so used to it and we have the counter on and we have the habit. So we are chanting, and then people say these people, wherever they are, they don't even see the atmosphere and they are chanting. Is that wrong? Is that correct?
See, actually 24/7, the holy name should be going on in our subconsciousness. So if you're chanting in a birthday party, if you're chanting, there is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong. But as I said,
Yeah, I understood.
no,
But
let's just say you're chanting a minimum of certain number of, let's just say, I don't know how many rounds you're chanting. You're chanting every day, right?
6 rounds.
6 rounds every day you're chanting. So your fixed quota of 6 rounds, if you try and chant in the morning or during a time where you can concentrate max, that is the best thing. Now, for some reason, and then apart from that, because your birthday party, as you said, when you're sleeping also chant, because it's going on in a subconscious, it happens. Just like how when we listen to a song few times and then that song keeps ringing in our mind and our ears, it's playing in our
Exactly.
mind. So the same thing happens with chanting, it's playing. So it's a matter of habit for us. So that is actually good. That is good if you're chanting and you're not able to stop chanting. So that is good. There is nothing wrong. There is nothing bad.
Like after I complete my 6 rounds, whether I do extra, but I have, since it's the habit, it goes on, the mouth
Yeah,
is
why
going
not?
on.
Of course, you only stand to gain. There is no loss. You only stand to gain. It's good. And what about people? I mean, are these people bona fide authorities who are telling you? See, unless your guru tells you, unless some saintly person tells you, your Shiksha guru or your Diksha guru tells you, or some senior authority in the temple is telling you, then yes, you can pay heed to their advice. But if these people are not bona fide authorized people, then why to pay attention to what they say? In Hindi,
Okay.
they say, no, sabse bada rog, kya kahenge log. So you don't have to worry about these people.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anything else we need to discuss before we begin? Okay. Who can read today?
Can I read?
Yes. Thank you, Divya.
Okay.
Okay, let's begin with can you see the presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 2.30, right?
Yes. Let's hear the shloka.
देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिर्धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति.
Translation.
As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change.
So here Krishna continues his discussion on the soul, and he's talking about how the embodied soul, what do you mean by the word embodied soul? The soul which is inside a body, that is the embodied soul. So this embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age. So first of all, he's talking about how the body is changing. We don't have the same body now. We don't have the body that we have now is not the same body that we had, say, 10 years ago. And 10 years from now, we are not going to have the same body. So the body is continuously changing, Krishna is saying. The body is changing from boyhood to youth to old age. Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara. From boyhood to youth to old age. And then what happens when the body is too old? Then the soul takes on another body at death. So death occurs when the body is, by and large, when the body is useless, old, then the soul takes another body at death. So here there is a you can say, see, suppose let's say we have a laptop and something goes wrong with the laptop. We may choose to change some parts. Probably we have a new motherboard, or we have an external hard disk drive, or we want to change the RAM. So we are using the same laptop, but we are changing the parts. And then the time comes when the laptop is completely useless. It cannot be repaired anymore. And then we choose to get a brand new laptop. So this is what is happening here. The parts are being changing. And then finally, because the body cannot be used anymore, then the soul changes the body at death. Okay. So a sober person, Krishna says, a dhira, a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. See, dehi no. Dehi no means of the embodied, that which is inside the deha, that which is inside the body. Deha means body. So Krishna is saying that don't be bewildered by the changes of the body. See this word, dehantara. Dehantara means deha antara, or the anta of the body. Dehant. When somebody passes away, what do we say? Ki so and so ka dehant ho gaya. So dehant ho gaya means uske deha ka ant ho gaya. His body has come to an end. We don't say ki uska ant ho gaya or he has come to an end. We say that his body has come to an end. Why? Because he does not die. The soul does not die. See here, this picture, you can see how the body is changing. From there is birth, then there is boyhood, then there is youth, and then there is old age, and then finally there is death. So we have to see now, most of us, I would imagine that we have definitely crossed the halfway mark, most of us here in the chat. So each one of us can look at the picture and see, where do we stand here? Where do we stand here? And how much time do we have left to perfect our lives? How much time do we have left to perfect our lives? The good thing about Krishna consciousness is, the good thing about surrender is, we can start at any point. It's not that, oh, we should have started. Actually, ideally, spiritual life should begin at the age of 5. Not that spiritual life should begin only in old age, which is the misconception most people have, that, oh, this should be done only in old age. No, because the more you wait to take up spirituality, the more difficult it becomes. When we see, if we want to train our children to become, to take up sports, or we want to train our children to take up any profession, we start training them from when they are young. Do we say that, oh, you can start training to become a cricketer when you are 30 years old? Can we do that? No, we start training them when we are young, isn't it? So spirituality also is like that. We have to train our children since when they are young itself, so that it becomes a habit. Later, it's that much more difficult. But yes, for some reason, because we probably didn't come in touch, we didn't have the good fortune to come in touch with a devotee, or we didn't have the good fortune to come in touch with the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. And now we have come in touch with Bhagavad Gita, we can start now. Because it's better late than never. So, because now, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we are getting this knowledge. We should take our spiritual life very, very seriously, and try and perfect our life in this lifetime itself. Let's not wait for more lifetimes, because the more Kali Yuga advances, the more crazy it's going to get, the more difficult it is going to get. And then again, in a future life, we don't know if we will come in touch with this knowledge. We don't know if we will come in touch with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So therefore, we have to make the most of this opportunity. Here is a pictorial depiction of how the body is changing. So we have crossed 8,400,000 different kinds of bodies. And we have got this very, very precious human body. In animal body, in the body of reptiles, aquatics, trees, we cannot inquire about the absolute truth. But in the human body, we can inquire about the absolute truth. And we can do the needful to perfect our life in this lifetime itself. Srila Prabhupada said, if you chant 16 rounds every day and follow the 4 regulative principles, you will go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime, no more lifetimes, which is which is a very good deal, isn't it? First of all, accepting this body was a bad bargain for us, because we have accepted this material body, which is prone to birth, death, disease, and old age. This material world is full of miseries. So accepting this material body, coming to this material world, was a bad bargain. But now that we have accepted this body, we have to make use of this bad bargain. We have to make use of this human body so that we can perfect our lives and go back home, back to Godhead. We are not destructible bodies, but we are indestructible souls. So you can see here again the change of the body from boyhood to youth to old age. Kaumaram, Yauvanam, Jara, and then finally death appears. Then the soul is taking up another body. Now this next body, it may not necessarily be that of a human body. We can also get a downgrade. We can also get the body of an animal, insect, of a worm in stool, the tree. So human life is not guaranteed. Human life is guaranteed only if we start off with devotional practices in this lifetime, because we carry on in the next lifetime from where we left off in this lifetime. So if we start off our devotional practices in this lifetime, then human life is guaranteed. But if we do not use the human body to inquire about the absolute truth, if we do not use the human body to engage in devotional practices, then we can get a downgrade. And then again, so many millions of births we have to pass before we can get this precious human body. So problem in current age, we identify ourselves with so many other bodily concepts: nationality, race, religion, appearance, and so on and so forth. So these are all bodily identifications. We are identifying ourselves with the body. We don't know, or we forget that we are spirit souls. For example, if you ask someone, who are you? He'll say, I'm Indian. Or he may say, I'm Hindu. Or he may say, I am Mr. So-and-so, or I'm doctor. So these are all bodily identifications. Modern civilization is a cage polishing civilization. We have seen this picture before. We tend to focus more on the cage, but we forget to feed the bird inside the cage. We are focusing more on keeping our bodies good. We should have, we want to be slim and trim. We want to have good health. We don't want to have gray hair. We want to have nice shining teeth. We don't want to have wrinkles, right? Focus is only on taking care of the body, but we are forgetting to take care of the soul within the body. So is this a very intelligent thing to do? To polish the cage, but not feed the bird in the cage. You can see this bird is almost dying. What is the use of this cage if there is no bird in the cage? So the body, yes, it's not that we should not take care of the body at all. Body we have to take care of because the soul is within the body, because the body is a tool that we have to use to realize God. So therefore, yes, we have to take care of our health. Because if we don't have good health, then how will we practice bhakti? So therefore, yes, we have to take care of our health, but not at the cost of the soul. We should know how to prioritize. But nowadays, how are we prioritizing? Hair, skin, nails, getting the 6 packs. Here, this person doesn't has a problem with his receding hairline. So this is what is happening. And nowadays, the advertisements on television are drilling it more and more in our brains that we are only the bodies. We have to take care of the bodies. So imagine previously, it was not so much, but in the recent age, the focus is so much more than the rest of the body. It's the hair and the nails that have become the latest obsession, isn't it? And hair and nails are also, I mean, they are just dead tissues. That's why when we cut them, we don't feel any pain. So, but then we are so focused on taking care of the body that we are forgetting to take care of the souls. Without the soul, the body is nothing but a lump of lifeless chemicals. We spend all our life, or most human population spends most of the life taking care of the body. But what happens? As soon as the soul leaves the body that we have been taking care of so much we focused on taking care of our nails, our hair, of our body. What happens? As soon as the soul leaves the body is a dead body. And what do we do with the dead body? We either burn the body, or we bury the body, or In some faiths, the body is eaten up by other birds, isn't it? So depending on what our faith is, but then the body is just disposed of. That's the bottom line. So there is value to the body only as long as the soul is there in the body. Once the soul leaves the body, we just dispose the body. So what should we focus on, the soul or the body? This is something that we have to understand. Do you think you are the body you see in the mirror? Can we recognize that we haven't recognized ourselves all these years so far? We are not what we see in the mirror. That's not us. That's not us. And that's actually good news. That's actually good news because the soul doesn't die. The soul doesn't have to grow old. The soul doesn't have to suffer diseases. So that's good news for us. Let's go to the next shloka.
Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadah agamapayino nityaha tam stitikshasva bharata.
Translation. Divya, are you there?
O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of the happiness and distress, and their disappearance in due course, are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception. O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed.
So Krishna is saying here that we have to tolerate happiness and distress. This material world, you will find happiness and distress. And only in the spiritual world, there is only happiness. So here, now that we are in this material world, now that we have this material body, what we have to do, we have to just tolerate the happiness and distress. Why? Because just as how the seasons change, we have summer and then winter and then summer and winter, like that, happiness and distress, they will come and go. So therefore, we have to learn to tolerate it without being disturbed by these changes. Why? Because when we tolerate happiness and distress, then we don't get agitated or we don't get disturbed when there is some adversity. We are able to maintain our calm. We are able to maintain our mental balance when there is an adversity, when there is a serious issue, when there is a serious problem. Then and that helps us to focus on our bhakti. Because if we get too hassle when there is distress, then it will play on our mind so much that we cannot focus on our bhakti. We cannot focus on our chanting. It will come in the way of our focus. So therefore, Krishna is saying that you have to learn to tolerate. Tolerance teaches us perseverance. Tolerance does not mean that we are weak. Tolerance does not mean that we are afraid or we are cowards. Tolerance only means that we are mature enough to understand what are the things we are mature enough to tolerate and not play the blame game. So Krishna is saying that you have to tolerate happiness and distress, just as how you tolerate the appearance and disappearance of summer and winter seasons. Accept the unavoidable. The unavoidable is temporary. So Krishna is saying summer and winter, they come and go. It's only temporary period. So therefore, because it is temporary, therefore you have to accept the unavoidable. Now one can understand that if somebody says you tolerate distress, okay, it's understandable that distress has to be tolerated. But why does Krishna say that we have to tolerate happiness? Isn't happiness something that we enjoy? Happiness is something that is very pleasant. Who tolerates happiness? Who tolerates that which is pleasant? I mean, does it sound absurd?
Everybody.
So
Everybody needs that.
yes, everybody, yes, but why to tolerate something that's pleasant? I mean, if you receive a good news, then do you say, oh, I have to tolerate that, yes, my children got a seat in a medical college, for example? or somebody has had an excellent day at business, does he say, oh, today was an excellent day at business, I have to tolerate it? Do you say that when there is something pleasant? Do you use the word tolerate when there is something pleasant?
No.
So tolerate.
No, Mataji.
So why does Krishna say that you have to tolerate even the pleasant?
Because nothing is permanent.
Nothing is permanent. So why to tolerate? What happens when there is something pleasant?
Mataji, like he means to here, Krishna means to say, don't get carried away by that happiness that you forget your bhakti. Don't
Yes.
get carried away by the happiness.
Yes,
Or
exactly.
get absorbed in that happiness that you forget doing your bhakti.
Yes, correct. So if we are overly happy, when we have something pleasant happening to us, then we get carried away, right? It will come in the way of our bhakti. And after that, being extremely happy, when there is disappointment, then we will suffer even more. We will suffer even more. Let's say, for example, we have planned a holiday with family, right? We have booked tickets, we have all our bookings, everything is in place. We have applied for leave with our bosses, children have vacation. Everything is in place for a very nice holiday. But just 1 week before the holiday, one of the family members is down with some disease, say malaria or jaundice, something like that. Now what will happen if he was very excited about the holiday? Now that there is this adversity, now that there is this disease and everything is cancelled, the holiday is cancelled, then he will suffer even more. The more he was excited about the travel, the more he will be disappointed now that there is this disease. So if we sensationalize the sensation, then the adversity is going to be that much harder for us to accept, that much harder for us to tolerate. So if we are equipoised during both happiness and distress, yes, we have a vacation, but we are not overly excited about it. Now that there is a disease, okay, we are not going to be overly affected by it. So we tolerate both situations. We have to find that balance. Therefore, Krishna says you have to tolerate both the pleasant and the unpleasant. So focus not just on what lies around you. Now, around us, see, when we are taking to devotional practices, around us, there may be so many adversities or so many challenges or so many hindrances that come in our way. Or there may be so many people who are telling us that, oh, you're too young for all this. Or they make fun of us if we are taking to spiritual practices, isn't it? But instead of focusing on what lies around you, it's better to focus on what lies ahead of you. What lies ahead of us? What lies ahead of a person who's practicing bhakti? Union with the Lord. So this picture is of Krishna embracing Gopakumar. There is a book called Brihad Bhagavatamrita that describes the journey of a person called Gopakumar from the material world all the way to the spiritual world. Very, very nice book by Sanatan Goswami. So this book describes that when Gopakumar finally reaches Goloka, he is embraced. He is personally embraced by Krishna. Krishna welcomes him and tells him that, where were you all this time? And I was eagerly waiting for you to return. And all the residents of Goloka also welcome him back to the spiritual world. So when we practice bhakti, there may be some hindrances, there may be some difficulties, because Maya doesn't play nice. No, we were discussing in the previous class how Maya Devi, she brings in so many obstacles because she is testing our determination. So it's a constant war against Maya. Everybody is running in one direction and we are swimming in the opposite direction, because most human population is engaged in enjoying life, no? Meat eating, intoxication, illicit sex, gambling. They are into eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But we are the ones who are swimming against the current. So it's not easy to always swim against the current. But so therefore, if we focus on what lies ahead of us, if we focus that this is what we are going to get at the end of this all, then we will be able to tolerate the pleasant and the unpleasant. Now, does tolerance as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita mean that I just passively accept everything, even injustice?
No.
No.
Because see, the very same Krishna who's telling Arjuna to tolerate, that very same Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight the war. He's not telling Arjuna, you tolerate what the Kauravas have done, isn't it? So we should know when to tolerate and when we have to retaliate. Tolerance means, what Krishna means here is, we should know which war or which battle is worthy fighting and which battle is worth letting go of. Sometimes there is no point if somebody insults us or somebody makes fun of us. It's better to let go. It's better to just let the person have the last word or last word in the argument. Because for us, instead of arguing with that person, wasting time with that person and losing our own mental stability, it's better we chant one extra round, isn't it? Just let it be. It's not worth arguing with such people. That person is not worth our time, nor is the subject matter worth our time and effort. So therefore, we should know when to tolerate and when to retaliate. But yes, scriptures teaches us that if somebody insults the Lord, somebody insults our spiritual master, then we have to retaliate. Then we should not tolerate. And if we cannot retaliate, if we cannot counter argue or defeat the person in argument, then it's better to walk off from that place, because it's offensive to even hear insults to Guru and Krishna. So content is critical for comprehending content. So I'm sorry, context is critical for comprehending content. Just because Krishna says tolerate, that doesn't mean that under every situation I'm going to tolerate. So as we discussed, there are certain situations where we have to retaliate and certain situations where we have to tolerate. So we have to understand the context in which something was spoken. So context is critical for comprehending content. Always we have to use our intelligence and try to understand. And if we cannot understand, always consult with a senior authority. 2.15.
यं हि न व्यथयन्त्येते पुरुषं पुरुषर्षभ समदुःखसुखं धीरं सोऽमृतत्वाय कल्पते.
Divya, are you there?
O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation.
So what is, see, previously Krishna was talking about tolerance, and now he's giving us what is the fruit of that tolerance. What is it that one can get? So Krishna is saying that Purusha Rishabha. Purusha Rishabha means the best among men. Who is the best amongst all the Purushas? Who is the best among the men? That person who is Sama, Dukkha, Sukham, Dhiram. Who is equipoised, Sama, during Dukkha and Sukha. Who is equipoised during happiness and distress. That person is the best amongst the men. That person is Purusha Rishabha. And what does he get in return? He gets Amritatvaya. Amritatvaya, he is eligible for liberation, Krishna is saying. So what is the fruit of the tolerance? What is the fruit of somebody who is equipoised during Sukha and Dukkha? He is eligible for liberation. So this is the first time in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is mentioning a spiritual goal. First time Krishna is talking about liberation here in the Bhagavad Gita. 16.
नासतो विद्यते भावो न भावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्तस्त्वनयोस्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः.
Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both.
From 2.16 to 2.25, there is a sub-theme where Krishna is going to talk about the vision of the seers of truth. Those who can see with the eyes of the Shastra. So here, this verse begins that section. And what is he talking about? What is he saying here? That those who are the seers of the truth, what can they see? They see, or Krishna is rather here, he's talking about, see, Krishna is talking about two natures, okay? The material nature and the spiritual nature. When he talks about the material nature, he's talking about the material body, and spiritual nature, he's talking about the soul. So he's saying that the material nature, the material body is non-existent because the body does not always exist. And then the soul is eternal. So that is always existing. So Krishna is talking about two natures here, the material nature and the spiritual nature, the body and the soul. And he's saying that the seers of truth have concluded that material nature is non-existent and spiritual nature is eternal. They have concluded this by studying the nature of both. So how does one who knows the truth, how does a seer of the truth see things? Previous class, we discussed how spiritual knowledge is not just meant for verbalization. We discussed how it is meant for internalization, how it is meant to bring about a transformation. So when we get spiritual knowledge, it transforms the way we look at things. It transforms the way we see things. It's not that suffering will immediately stop. Many people think that, oh, people once they take to spirituality, then there is no suffering. It's not that there is no suffering. It's just that they know how to maintain their balance even in face of suffering. For example, when we are on the ground level, we see the trees and the buildings and the people and the cars. But when we take an airplane and as we go higher and higher, the very same trees and the cars and the buildings are existing and the size, but we see them as a lot smaller, isn't it? So when we take to spirituality, it helps us raise our consciousness. It helps us raise our understanding. And therefore, those very same problems that, of course, continue to exist because we are in the material world, but those problems now appear very, very small and we don't get hassled by it. So we know how to handle things. Or another example is of a doctor. Now, somebody may see a bodybuilder and he says, oh, he has a very good body. But a doctor may see the same bodybuilder with the help of an X-ray and say that, oh, actually you have a broken bone. So he can see the broken bones in the body of that bodybuilder. So the way we look at things, the vision, that changes when we take to spirituality. So the doctor can see the broken bone with the help of the X-ray. The seers of truth can see this with the help of Guru, Sadhu, and Master. So see, this is a seer of truth, and he's coming to a conclusion of the spiritual and material nature. So we discussed how the spiritual world is in the form of a lotus, and one corner of the spiritual world is the material world. 17.
अविनाशि तु तद्विद्धि येन सर्वमिदं ततं विनाशमव्ययस्यास्य न कश्चित् कर्तुमर्हति.
That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul.
That which pervades the entire body is Avinashi. Avinashi here. See, Avinashi means it is imperishable. What is imperishable? Yena sarvam idam tatam. That which pervades the entire body. And what is it that pervades the entire body? It is the spirit soul. Because it's the spirit soul. See, the scientists accept that the heart is the source of energy of the entire body. That the scientists can accept. But the scientists do not accept the presence of the soul in the heart. Why is the heart the source of energy? Is because the soul is present in the heart. So that the world of science does not accept. So the fact that the soul is present in the body, therefore it pervades the entire body. The whole body is moving. The whole body is conscious, has life, because it is a soul that is pervading the entire body. It's the presence of the soul that makes the difference between a person who's dead and alive. Because what else is the difference? If you see a dead body, and a person who's alive. It's the same eyes, same nose, same organs, the same blood is there. Everything is the same, no? The same nails, hands, legs, everything is exactly the same. What is the one thing that is absent in the dead body? It's the spirit soul. It's the spirit soul. So it's the soul that pervades and it's the soul that is giving energy or making the whole body conscious. So Krishna is saying that which pervades the entire body is indestructible. And no one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. So what is the connection between that which pervades? Normally, when something pervades the body, that brings about death or that brings about destruction. For example, a bullet pervades the body and it causes death. If a person is drowning, the water enters his body, the water pervades his body, and therefore it causes death. Or termites enter the body of a tree and can destroy the tree. So something that pervades will bring about destruction. So here Krishna is saying that which pervades the entire. So the soul is pervading the body. Nothing can pervade the soul. Nothing can pervade the soul. Therefore, the soul cannot be destroyed. Now, Krishna says here that the soul is indestructible. Now, let's say we are discussing with someone that the soul is indestructible, not the body. So then somebody says, oh, that's wonderful news. Better I end my life because I'm unable to tolerate the aches and pains of my deadly disease. So somebody is fed up of his disease. And he says that, okay, I can commit suicide because anyway, if I commit suicide, only my body will die. The soul will not die. Or somebody else may say, okay, because the body is, the body only can be killed, not the soul. So therefore, there is nothing wrong in killing others because when I kill somebody else, then I'm only killing the body. I'm not killing the soul. So what will you counter argue here? What are you going to say to this person?
That is wrong, actually, killing anybody or killing ourselves, because it will be a suicide, which is much more, can say that, it's more dangerous, or not dangerous, you can say it's
more painful, and we get punished for it too.
It is more punishable than killing
Dying
ourselves. Yeah.
So what is more important? Body is more important or soul is more important?
Soul.
Soul is more important. So I'm only killing the body.
But in this circumstances, if we kill somebody or we are killing ourselves, then I'm not saying that the body is body is important, but still we'll be doing as a suicide or killing somebody. That is more harmful, it seems.
So
It's against God's will.
It's against God's will.
Untimely death
Untimely death.
The soul will have to leave the body.
Well,
The soul won't get another birth.
The soul will not get another birth.
yeah, the soul will get another, but the thing is that what you said previously, you have zero tolerance for happiness and sadness. And this is going to define you in that.
Okay.
Means at good times you were not that happy, you couldn't tolerate that happiness, and on bad time you cannot even take that thing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know I'm right or wrong, but it's something like.
No, so what you're saying is a person who is contemplating suicide is somebody who's not able to tolerate happiness and distress. So he's disobeying the instruction of Krishna. Oh, very nice. Yes, very nice.
Do you agree with that or I'm wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, you're correct. You're correct. Yeah, Bhumika, you have raised your hand.
And he cannot go back to Godhead.
He cannot go back to Godhead? Never ever?
Yes.
Actually, it's all unnatural way of killing. Like one hasn't finished fulfilling all his karmas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mataji, we are telling that soul is important, but soul also needs to dwell somewhere. So body, it has to need a body.
Yeah, so after death, he'll get another body.
But I think if he's killing himself or if we are doing suicide, then maybe the next, the spirit, the Atma is not going to be that peaceful. I mean, wherever it goes, the other life will be also disturbed.
Okay, let's see. Vrinda Gopika Mataji, you raised your hand.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Koti
Thank you,
Koti Dandavat Pranam. Without, if we kill ourselves or we kill other, दूसरे को भी मारना, पर सोल तो यहाँ ही रहता है. तो जो हमें भक्ति करनी है तो हमें मटेरियल बॉडी चाहिए, उसमें ही हम भक्ति कर सकते हैं. हम विदाउट सोल the person that we cannot do bhakti, and यही जन्म वो सोल तो जब उसका टाइम खत्म होएगा तब तक ये मटेरियल वर्ड्स में रहेंगे और वो that soul cannot do a bhakti. So material body is very important, and that is not good that we will do suicide or harmful to anybody. So in this material body only we can with soul we can do bhakti, Mataji, and enter in Shri Golok Vrindavan Dham. So our material body is very important.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Perfectly said. So yes, the soul is more important than the body, but the body is the tool that we have to perfect our lives. So therefore, we have to use the body to perfect our life. If we don't have the body, how will we do bhakti? How will we do bhakti? So soul is more important, but we need the body so that we can perfect our lives. Okay, very nice. See, in if the body is not sacred, why did Bhim refuse? One second, I have to move this bar here. If the body is not sacred, why did Bhim refuse to step over the body of a monkey? Only later it was revealed that the monkey was actually the illustrious Hanuman. So we know this story from the Mahabharata. We have discussed before also that Bhim went to collect some flowers for Draupadi. And he comes across this monkey with the tail in its way. And Bhim at that time was not aware that that monkey is actually Hanuman. But still, he did not want to step over that tail. He could have stepped over that tail and just walked ahead, isn't it? But no, because he respected the body, that too only of a monkey. At that time, he didn't know that it's Hanuman. He didn't want to step over. So that means he considered the body of that monkey, the tail of that monkey, to be sacred. If the body is not sacred, why is it considered disrespectful to even touch anyone's body with their feet? We know, no, if by mistake also we happen to touch someone with our feet, by mistake also we immediately ask for pardon. Oh, I'm sorry. So it's our culture that we don't touch anyone's body with our feet. Why? Because we consider the body to be sacred. If the soul never dies, what is wrong in killing animals for flesh, in opening slaughterhouses and committing murders? So how to understand this? Knowledge of the soul's indestructibility, Krishna gives us so that we can see the body as a tool for pursuing spiritual evolution. We have to understand that the soul cannot be destroyed because we have to use the body as a tool in order to advance in our spiritual life. He is not giving us this knowledge so that we can protect the body at all costs. We have to take care of the soul, prioritize the soul first. But we have to take care of the body because we use the body as a tool for pursuing spiritual evolution, because that's what is important. Spiritual evolution, spiritual advancement is important. Okay. Now see here, how to pursue that spiritual evolution? That depends on the nature of our situation. Now, the nature of Arjuna's situation was that of an emergency situation where he had to prioritize spiritual evolution over bodily protection. He had to prioritize fighting the war over killing his near and dear ones. Okay, so for him it was an emergency situation. If one is in a normal situation, then we focus on spiritual growth while taking due care of the body. We have to take care of our body because we have to use the body as a tool for spiritual progress, but not take care of the body at the cost of our spiritual life. So we should know how to prioritize. Now, if one is in an emergency situation like Arjuna, because Arjuna was in such a situation where he had to kill, He was in an emergency situation. In the same way, we may be in an emergency situation as well. Let's say somebody is attacking us. He is going to kill us. So in self-defense, we may have to take an extreme step, right? Even the law of the land permits you to, let's say that you had to kill someone in self-defense. So the law of the land allows you to do that. So if in case of an emergency situation, then yes, you can use an extreme step. Of course, there is no emergency situation that allows you to commit suicide, because when we commit suicide, what happens is we think a person who is committing suicide thinks that my life will be better because I have too many problems, and better I commit suicide and bring an end to my problems. But his problems will only increase after he commits suicide, because what happens is, now that he has brought an end to the body before time, he now has to remain here till the next body is ready for him. So until, let's say somebody has committed suicide at the age of 20 and he was destined to live till he was 60. So for the next 40 years, he has to remain here, and he will feel hungry, but he does not have the body to eat so that he can satisfy his hunger. He will feel thirsty, but he does not have the body to drink water so that he can quench his thirst. So he is in a worse situation if he commits suicide. Okay, so this is how we answer this question. Then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains what is the size of the soul. Okay, we have 2 hands raised here. Let's see. Shivani?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. So what happens to the people who are like killed by others or murdered? I mean, and they die before their time.
So
they will-
murder and accidents are also karma.
So that's karma. If somebody is killing you, that's karma.
Yes, because
And
probably
if you-
that person had murdered the other person in the previous lifetime.
So you die before your time and you will just stay here till your next body is
No,
ready.
it's not that you're dying before the time. Murder is karma. It was destined to happen at that time, at the hands of that person.
How come accident?
Accidents also, it's nothing, it's not by chance that it happens.
So in both situations, we will get the person will get next body. But if you take your life, that's the only time you will be.
Yes, then you are coming in the way of material nature. Then you are coming in the way of your destined time to die.
Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Sri Hari Radha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, when someone kills the body and goes to the other, that the soul just remains in the material world and suffers. But can that soul also be spiritualized at that time? Like, can that soul also travel to other places where dhams are and just associate with devotees with that body itself and spiritualize it itself, or no?
Yeah, the soul can travel to the dhams. In fact, in holy places, there are more souls who are there because they get some relief. There is a story of, see, if you read Srila Prabhupada's biography, it's described that how once Srila Prabhupada bought a house that was haunted. Have you heard that story, Sri Hari Radha Mataji?
Yes, I have. But my question remains where, like the body is killed, the soul is traveling. Can it engage in Bhagavad? Can it engage in devotional service and go back to Godhead in that very body, the soul? That's
Yeah,
my
by
question.
hearing, if the soul is near a holy place, or if the soul is near a
Uh-huh.
temple or somewhere chanting is going on, the soul can hear and get benefited by hearing.
Okay, and then go back to Godhead.
Go back to God, that again depends upon what is the karmic balance. It's very
Okay,
complex. You cannot say that yes or no. There is not a one, because see, the law of karma is very, very complex. Krishna says that you cannot understand the law of karma. So we don't know what is the karmic balance of that person. But by hearing, he can get benefited.
Okay.
But to the
So what
fullest
happened
extent,
was
we
in
don't
that
know.
Prabhupada had sent that soul back to Godhead when he chanted in front of him and he spoke to him and he saw him. So
Yes.
they can go back to Godhead if they go across, if they come across to a pure unalloyed devotee like Prabhupada or his disciples or somebody else who can send that soul back, right? That's
Yes.
the answer to my question, correct?
Yes, correct. Yes,
Okay,
because
thank you
pure
so much.
devotee is
Hare
like a
Krishna.
touchstone. A pure devotee is like a touchstone. Anyone who comes in contact with a pure devotee can attain perfection. Because he can override the rules of the game. Okay?
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Okay, let's proceed. So what is the size of the soul? So the Upanishads explain that when the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, so the tip of the hair, if you divide the tip of the hair into 100 parts, and then further divide that each part into 100 more parts, then that part which remains, that is the measurement of the spirit soul. So in other words, it is 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair. That is the size of the soul. So if somebody asks you what is the size of the soul, your answer is, it is 1/10,000th part of the tip of the hair.
I have a question.
Yes.
The soul never dies, right?
Correct.
But how are the souls born?
The souls are not born, neither they die. They have always existed. They are not born. Because when we say a soul is born, it means that there was a time when the soul did not exist and therefore now he is born. But there was never a time when we did not exist. The souls have always existed. That's what Krishna says, no? In the previous verse we saw, in the previous class. There never was a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor any of these kings, Krishna says. So we have always existed. It's not that we are born or we die. We have always existed in the past. We'll always exist in the future. We are eternal.
So a soul is never born, it never dies. That's what you mean to say.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So there is more about the soul. This reference here says, the soul is atomic in size and can be perceived by perfect intelligence. So we cannot perceive the soul by our gross material senses. We cannot perceive the soul by our gross material senses, but by intelligence. And where does that intelligence come from? Again, it comes from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So this atomic soul is floating in 5 kinds of air. So there are 5 kinds of air that are floating in our body: prana, apana, vyana, samana, and udana. And where is the soul situation? Within the heart, and spreads its influence all over the body of the embodied living entities. When the soul is purified from the contamination of the 5 kinds of material air, its spiritual influence is exhibited. The Hatha Yoga system is meant for controlling the 5 kinds of air encircling the pure soul by different kinds of sitting postures, not for any material profit. So the modern day terminology, they use the word yoga for these postures or some exercises that are done. But what is now it is done for health reasons, because I want to maintain a good body, I want to look young, or whatever reason. But what is actually the goal of this Hatha Yoga system is not for any material profit, but for liberation of the minute soul from the entanglement of the material atmosphere. That is the goal of this Hatha Yoga system, which unfortunately now people have forgotten. So see here, the soul is floating in these 5 kinds of air. The 5 air the soul floats in. Here you have the names. We have discussed in the previous slide. So what is the function of these airs? Prana governs intake and forward momentum. Its main function is respiration. So you can see here, prana, main function is respiration. Apana governs elimination and outward momentum. So see, apana, air is going down. So elimination of stool, urine, semen, and menses. Then we have the vyana, governs circulation. Vyana is here, see, circulation, all 4 directions. It coordinates all activities within the nervous system, giving liveliness in every part of the body. Then we have samana. Samana, you can see, is going up and down, both up and down. So governs digestion, assimilation, and consolidation, nourishing the whole body, giving health. And then we have udana, governs growth and upward movement. See. So udana is only upward movement. So vomiting, speaking, singing. So these are the 5 airs in which the soul floats. And these are the function of the 5 airs in the body. So therefore, when yoga is done, it's all about breath control. It's all about controlling the air so that the soul can be liberated from the entanglement of material atmosphere. See, the symptom of the soul is the consciousness which pervades the entire body. When a person is living, he has consciousness. When he is dead, there is neither the consciousness nor the soul. So the symptom of the presence of the soul in the body is that the person is conscious. So consciousness is the symptom of the soul. Even though we cannot see the soul, the very fact that the person is conscious is indicative that the soul is present in the body. Because the moment there is no consciousness in the body, the moment the body is a dead body, it means that the soul has left the body. So consciousness is a symptom of the soul. Just as how we may see a car at a distance going on the road, and we may not be able to see the driver because it's too far. We cannot see the driver, but we see the car moving. Just by seeing the car moving, we know that there is a driver in the car, right? So just by seeing a person conscious and alive, we know that the soul is present in that body, even though we cannot see the soul. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Mataji, can I ask you another question, Mataji?
Yes, of course.
Okay, my question remains, when I asked you the first question about the soul getting out of the body because of suicidal and all that, every time we are in the body, Tamo, Rajo and Satvik Gun are controlling us. So once we are out of the body, because we have killed ourselves and now we are traveling all over the world and we are still, we want to still continue to do our engagement in devotional service. So we go to a dham or, or go to some guru or sant or like japa, kirtan vagara. So who is controlling that soul? Is it the tamagun? Because they suicide and now they're out of the body. So is it the tamagun?
No, how can that question be answered? Because it depends on person to person. First of all, if one is a devotee and one wants to surrender, that such a person will not commit suicide. If he has a desire to perfect his life and go to the dham, such a person will not commit suicide in the first place. And if a person has committed suicide, it's because he is in the mode of ignorance. He lacks the proper knowledge. So again, it depends on what one deserves and what one desires.
Okay. Prahlad Prabhuji used to do book distribution. He was one of the #1 book distributor, and he suicided. And then a psychic said that he's still traveling in the body and he's liberating the ghost, by preaching to them and all that. So
he's liberating the other ghosts.
Sorry, what happened?
He's liberating the other ghosts.
Yes.
Being a ghost body.
Yeah. They're saying that he's still preaching because he was preaching when he was living. Then when he killed himself due to bodily pains and some other stuff, then he still continues to preach. That's what they said. I don't know how true it is, but what I'm saying is the correction that you said that devotees don't kill their bodies because their goal is to go back to Godhead and their goal is to achieve the spiritual light. So the service of Krishna. So even if devotees do also suicide due to some circumstances, so are they in tamogun or rajogun or sattvigun?
Well, you cannot say that they are in, you cannot say that they are in one gun constantly. Sometimes it may be sattva, sometimes it may be rajo, sometimes it may be ignorance, sometimes it may be mixed modes. Sometimes it may be a little bit of
Acha.
goodness and a little bit of passion. Some other time it may be. So it keeps changing. You cannot say that somebody is constantly in one particular mode. It keeps changing.
Okay, okay, okay. All right. All right, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. What else do we need to discuss?
Shri Jagannath Yatra going on, Mataji. Please explain little bit more so everybody get your association. Koti Koti
So
Dandavat.
where it is going on now, Mataji? Is it going on in Atlanta?
Atlanta is complete, Mataji. Now in India, also complete, but it is started in all the India ISKCON temple. Come on.
Yeah, so yeah, Jagannath Rath Yatra just completed in Jagannath Puri, and Srila Prabhupada, he took Jagannath all over the world. No, he installed this Rath Yatra in all places of the world. Thanks to Srila Prabhupada that now we have Rath Yatra everywhere. Because Lord Jagannath is Jagannath. He's not only he's the Nath or the Lord of the universe. No, so we have Rath Yatra now everywhere. According the dates vary because in some countries it may not suit to hold it at the same time, depending on summer and winter, and then of course so many permissions we have to get from the government. So therefore in different countries it's held at different dates. And if you get the opportunity to attend a Rath Yatra, please don't miss the opportunity to pull the ropes of Lord Jagannath, because one who Prabhupada said that one who sees Jagannath on the cart will not take birth again. So, and Jagannath has a very, very unique form. You see, Jagannath is the only Lord which has such big eyes, if you observe, and Jagannath has his hands stretched out like this. No, you will never see any other deity like that. Why Jagannath has his hands stretched out is because he's always giving out his mercy to the devotees, and his eyes are so big because he magnifies the good qualities of all those who are there, of his devotees. He magnifies the good qualities. So you may have 0.1%, but he magnifies it to several million times more. So he's very, very merciful, Lord Jagannath. And if you get the opportunity to attend a Rath Yatra in your country, please don't miss the opportunity to go and pull the carts of Lord Jagannath. Yeah, so Jagannath is there with Baladev and Subhadra, his brother and sister. I just now remembered one very, very interesting pastime of Lord Jagannath, which my Guru Maharaj says in his classes. Very, very recent pastime. It's not something from a distant past. There is a Jagannath temple in Sridham, Mayapur. And those Jagannath deities are very, very, very active. They make their presence felt very, very actively. And there is this pastime once an Indian person, I think he was a Vaishnava or a Hindu, he took his Muslim friend to the Jagannath temple and he went there. So there the pujari was distributing prasad and then he gave laddus. So this person, when he received the laddu in his hand, he just threw it away. And he said that I don't want to accept anything that is offered to idols. I don't believe in idol worship. So he just threw it away. Now the next day, again, the same person has come to the temple and he said he went to and the same pujari was there. And he tells the pujari, please give me Jagannath Prasad. And the pujari said, yesterday you threw it away and now you're asking me for the Prasad. What's going on? So he says that no, last night I had a terrible dream. In that dream, I was being chased by two personalities, one with a yellow face and one with a white face. They were chasing me and I was running for my life. And then finally one person appeared there with a black face and he said that it's only his first offense and let's forgive him. But the person with the yellow and the white face was telling that no, we have to kill him because he has offended you. So then he says that no, let's forgive him because it was his first offense. And then the person realizes that the person with the yellow face and white face were actually Subhadra and Baladev, and the person with the black face was actually Lord Jagannath. So Jagannath is so merciful. And then the person, he says that when he got up from his sleep, he had bruises on his body. Okay, it was only a dream, but he had bruises. So it was like a real experience that he had. And then, so therefore this person then realizes his mistake and he went and he asked the Pujari, now you please give me Jagannath Prasad. So Jagannath is very, very merciful. As I said, very unique feature. Hands are stretched and big, big eyes. So if you please definitely go and pull the rath if you can ever get the opportunity. Don't miss the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Jai Jai Jagannath, Jai Jai Baldeva, Jai Jai Subhadrani ki Jai. And Mataji, can I share one pastime, only 1 minute?
Yes, please.
We get such a strong association of H. Jaipataka Maharaj. So he prepared a 67 different type of Panihati festival, cheap rice, different preparation, Mataji. And he sit in a kitchen, and we are so fortunate by the mercy of Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Srila Prabhupada, Sri Gurudev, and Shri Jagannath Balaram Subhadrani, that it's a teamwork, Mataji. More than 38 Mataji are cooking cheap rice पानीहटी फेस्टिवल. तो उसमें बहुत सारे फ्रूट्स डाले जाते हैं. फिर पहले तो स्वीटी बनाया जाता था, पर अभी उसमें साउथ इंडियन, मैक्सिकन, गुजराती, नॉर्थ इंडियन एंड ऑल द ये रेसिपी फॉलो करते हैं. और सब इसमें बहुत सारे स्पाइसेस एंड फ्रूट्स एंड नट्स बना के चिप राइस बनाया जाता है, माता जी. एंड लास्ट में वी गेट द ब्लेसिंग ऑफ जय पताका महाराज, and then we distribute in all Vaishnava in Panihati festival. So Atlanta name is Srila Prabhupada came, and first this festival celebrated by H. Jaipataka Maharaj and H. Radhanath Maharaj. So Atlanta Panihati, that's why Sri Radha Madan Mohan temple name is Atlanta Panihati Dham Festival. And Shri Jagannath Balaram Subhadrani, when we are attending that festival, Mataji, जब हम वो उनका रोप खींचते हैं माताजी, तो वो श्री द्वारकाधीश से हम श्री मथुरा धाम में सब गोपियास एंड श्रीमती श्री राधा रानी बुला रहे हैं. एंड श्री जगन्नाथ is coming, our heart is Shridham Vrindavan Dham, so we have to take calm, krodh, loh, moh, matsa. बोलना easy है माताजी, but and forgive to that person who give us so much hard time. But वो सब जब निकलेगा तभी श्रीमती श्री सुभद्रा रानी, श्रीमती श्री लक्ष्मी महारानी, श्री जगन्नाथ, श्री बलराम and श्रीमती श्री सुभद्रा रानी will enter in our heart by the mercy of 6 Kausami in our Acharya Gan. Mataji, koti koti dandat pranam. Recently I shared only 1 second that Jagannath Rath Yatra festival, Snan Yatra festival, जीवन में मुझे कभी भी सर दर्द नहीं हुआ था at the age of 56, and I have so much pain माताजी in my after जगन्नाथ को स्नान कराने के बाद बहुत ही पेन ये 4 अंगुली में हो रहा था. एंड बाहर लेके गए, फिर डॉक्टर्स ने बोला कि ब्लड प्रेशर लो है, बट देन दे विल टेक MRI एंड CT स्कैन एंड दे सेड दैट यहाँ पे 1/4 part of my hair there is a blockages, पर वो suddenly नहीं आते हैं. It's a genetic, 8-10 साल के बाद. So I request to all Vaishnava that our diet is very important. All our Maharaj, Jai Jai Pataka Maharaj, Jai Jai Radhanath Maharaj, Jai Jai Sachidananda Maharaj. We serve in Bibi Govind Maharaj, Radha Govind, Jai Radha Govind Maharaj. We serve in Shri Radha Gopinath temple. Mataji, they all are following plant-based diet. कितना sacrifice करते हैं ताकि हमें वो कृष्णा conscious दे सके. नहीं salt, नहीं oil, नहीं ghee, and only they are taking green juice and all the different type of juice to give us. वो live रहते हैं, वो उसमें श्रील प्रभुपाद की मर्सी 6 गोस्वामी और आचार्य गण की मर्सी होती है. ये जो गुरुदेव होते हैं, दे आर नॉट ऑर्डिनरी पर्सनालिटी, स्पेशल मर्सी होती है जगन्नाथ की. पर वो हमें भक्ति देने के लिए ऐसे सिंपल प्लांट बेस्ड डाइट फॉलो करते हैं. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम. एंड व्हेन मोर एंड मोर डिफिकल्टीज माताजी केम इन आवर लाइफ, वी बिकम मोर एंड मोर सिंसियर इन भक्ति. एंड जब मटेरियल शरीर, मटेरियल बॉडी जब हार्ड टाइम देती है माताजी, वी बिकम इट्स लाइक अ सेकंड बर्थ, एंड वी बिकम मोर सिंसियर इन श्रील प्रभुपाद, श्री गुरुदेव, श्री जगन्नाथ बलराम सुभद्रानी सेवा. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम माताजी. योर एसोसिएशन, वी नेवर फॉरगेट योर सेवा. श्री भागवत गीता की जय. जी सनम श्री नाम माता जी की जय. जय पताका महाराज की जय. कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम to your sincere सेवा माता जी.
Thank you Mataji, for your association and for your encouraging words. You're very sweet, Mataji. Your words are very sweet. Please always give us your association. Okay, what else do we need to discuss? Okay, so since there is nothing more, let's end today's session. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Mata ji ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Nityananda, Jai Jai Jagannath, Jai Jai Balradeva, Jai Jai Srimati Sisi Subhadrani ki jai. Sisi Six Goswami, Sisi Acharya Gan ki jai. Jai Jai Pataka Maharaj ki jai. And Shinam Mata ji's deep devotional association ki jai. Shishi Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Thank you Mataji. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam to your sincere seva.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Dhamma Pranam.
Hare
Shraddha ji.
Hare Krishna.